Welcome to the Draw Fair to Green podcast. And this past week, we had a couple repeat winners from earlier in the year. And this upcoming week, we've got a full schedule of PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, European Tour events. So it's a good, nice, busy time in the game of golf towards the end of the summer. But let's start with the Ladies European Tour and Anna Huang picking up her fourth career Ladies European Tour winner. She has two this year, two last year. And the most crazy part is she's 17 years old and has four professional wins. I mean, compared to what I was doing as a 17-year-old, it is amazing. Like I was not winning professional golf tournaments at 17 years old.
Yeah, Anna Huang is ridiculous. She is 17 years old. She is the youngest four-time winner on the latest European Tour. She won earlier this season at the Lala Merriam Cup in the Middle East. And what she did on Sunday was remarkable. She went head-to-head with Charley Hull, world number 6. We know how good Charley Hull is. And Charley Hull was playing in – she was the best player, rankings-wise and status-wise by far going into that European Tour event. And Anna Huang steps up and, she delivers on Sunday. And it was a pretty crazy finish. Anna Huang didn't really have kind of what she was showing the rest of the week on Sunday. She made a birdie or two on the front nine and a bogey and a birdie on the back nine. Kind of was around even par. And Charley Hull was doing what she does. She goes birdie, birdie. She's making all these birdies. And then, 16th hole, Charley Hull has the lead and then four putts, And that's not what we expect from Charley Hull. I think maybe earlier this season or last year she three putted to lose a tournament, or her or Gino, one of the top.
Yeah.
She four putted or three putted to lose a tournament, which was surprising. But she makes double on the 17th hole, I believe, and gives the lead right back to Anna Huang. And what does she do? It's the par 5 18th hole, goes up there and eagles it for the fourth time all week. She eagled that hole every single round, so 8 under on one hole that week. So pretty remarkable stuff here, just to step up with a tournament on the line and go, fairway, green makes, 20-footer for eagle to win. So she's unbelievable. She's a special talent and just 17 years old. So expect big things. I know we talked about her earlier this season, but I mean, big things are on the horizon for Anna Huang, if not already winning 4 times at 17, but I'm excited.
I mean, you said it perfectly. I mean, it's in England. Charley Hull is English. She's the best player in the field. She's going to be on the Solheim Cup. She finished runner-up in multiple majors this year. And the 17-year-old was like, I'm just better than you. And it's just like, that's like someone staring down like Mike Tyson, and maybe not Mike Tyson, but one of the best fighters in the world as a 17-year-old and just going toe-to-toe with him and winning. Like, that doesn't happen often. And I'm pretty sure I said this when she won early in the year after her third win. I mean, Brooke Henderson is great. Was she doing this as a 17-year-old? I know they're both Canadian, so like Brooke Henderson is probably the most accomplished golfer ever in Canada, male or female. Anna Huang at 17, it's going to be astonishing to watch her career unfold. And hopefully everything goes well. She stays healthy and all that, because you never know. We see that all the time with players. They get hurt, they kind of lose that drive. I'm going to be fascinated to see her on the LPGA Tour at some point, competing in majors. It's just, again, she didn't need eagle on the last hole. She won by 2. She just needed a birdie. But she was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it again for the 4th day in a row. It's just really special stuff, really cool stuff for a 17-year-old. I know I saw the clip of winning in front of her mom for the first time and both of them being really emotional. That was really cool to see. And again, 17-year-old making tons of money in a foreign country is really cool to see. So again, another exciting time on the Ladies European Tour. We've had some good winners here in the last couple of events, and they got an event coming up this week that should be good as well. And Anna Huang on earlier in the year, Michael Brennan over on the PGA Tour picks up his second win of the year. He won back in October at the Bank of Utah Championship, came into the Wyndham Championship needing, I think it was a win or like a tie for second to get into the FedExCup playoffs. And all he does, he goes out and he gets the win. And he's been really good the last 2 weeks for the first 3 rounds at the 3M Open and the Rocket Classic. I think at the 3M, he was T4 heading into the final round. And last week at the Rock Classic, he was second. And he just shot, I think, 73 and 74 and finishes with a couple, not even top 10 finishes at those events. So he disappointed this week on Sunday. It was a completely different story. He shoots 64. At one point, makes 5 birdies in a row on the front nine and just runs away with it. Once he got to 21, he made a bogey, makes another birdie. No one was really close to him. So again, Michael Brennan, he won all the time in college. He won, I think, 8 times at Wake Forest, won a couple, I think 3 times at PGA Tour Americas, the Canadian PGA Tour, and was going to play on the Corn Ferry this past year, and then wins in Utah, and now gets his second win in just his 29th start on the PGA Tour. So really good, impressive win by him at a time where he needed that result the most.
Yeah, I mean, impressive result for Michael Brennan, back against the wall to, extend his season, and he goes out there and wins the tournament, plays very well, and just like you mentioned, he was very close these last couple of weeks. He's played some excellent golf the first 3 rounds, and then just doesn't have his best stuff on the last day, whether it's nerves, whatever. But obviously, did not show here on Sunday. And another thing is Michael Brennan is only 24 years old, so he's fairly young on the PGA Tour. And him and a couple of those guys the last few weeks with Koivun, gave me who won recently also, who's also very young. But
Thorbjornson.
yes,
Thorbjornson
Michael,
last week.
yes. So all these young winners after the majors and stuff. So it's kind of the point of the season where some of these guys take tournaments off, but these young guys are seizing the opportunity and they're making their name and extending their career on the PGA Tour. So it's very nice to see, Michael Brennan, Michael Thorbjornson, and Jackson Koivun all competing. And I'm pretty sure all 3 of them are playing this week. Jackson Koivun made the FedEx Cup playoffs on the number. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. But yeah, pretty impressive stuff. And, we'll see. And my favorite clip was him winning and his mom going over and saying, "We're going to the Masters." So it's always fun.
Yeah.
And I'd do the same thing if my kid was in the Masters. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean it's a special trip to go and play at Augusta. And I mean, speaking of young players, the one player that he's impressed me since coming onto the tour. I know you mentioned him last week. I think you may have picked him last week. Ben James. He was the #1 player on the PGA Tour PGA Tour U rankings this past year. He finishes third. He had a bad third round shot, 72, but he fires this final round, 62, I think it was, and just he won and gets into third place. Now, he's not going to make it to the FedEx Cup playoffs. I think he's like 106 on the FedEx Cup ranking, so he's going to have to play some fall events to keep his card. But, man, this kid has come onto the scene, and he's performed really well. When I went to the RBC Canadian Open, I was there Saturday. He was in the final pairing with Sam Burns, and he didn't have his best stuff that day, but the fact that he was in a final pairing the week he turned pro, and he's finished high the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, he's one that, again, he hasn't won like Koivun and Thorbjornson yet, but like he's got a couple of top 10s and 6 starts, and he's one to keep an eye out in the fall. Maybe pick one of those weaker field events off and get full status onto the PGA Tour. Look for him next summer. But I think we talk about it all the time on the LPGA Tour that there's so many young, great golfers on that tour, and we're kind of waiting for the PGA Tour young guys to kind of step up and arrive. And it's kind of happened here in the last couple of months. You brought up a great point. Like some of these guys, like we haven't seen Rory since the Open. We saw Scotty at the 3M, but then he's taken the last couple of weeks off. We haven't seen Tommy Fleetwood or Matt Fitzpatrick or some of the big names that you normally see. They're resting up for the playoffs, and I get it. They got to play 3 weeks in a row. They don't really need to go play the Wyndham. I understand, but these young guys are just coming to the tour ready to compete, and I think it's great. I mean, you bring up Koivun. He didn't have his best week, but he still fought and got in on the number. I will say, and I don't know if you watched any of the golf, but I think it was Friday I was watching on ESPN Live, and he was in the featured group. He may have been with Jordan Spieth and someone else, and I can't remember the announcer, but he pretty much said he doesn't think Koivun deserves a spot on the Ryder Cup team because he's only played multiple events, and if he doesn't make the playoffs, how are you going to put him in? And I made a note in my mind just to bring it up because I think that is what is essentially wrong with the team competitions for the U.S. I think that is the exact mindset of why we lose the Ryder Cup every year. It's why we lost at Bethpage. They're trying to get guys, the Buddies Club, in. I don't care. I don't need Patrick Cantley on the team in Medina. I'm sorry. And he's talking about Patrick Cantley and Jacob Bridgman and Justin Thomas. Like, I love Justin Thomas. I'm one of his biggest fans. He doesn't need to be there. He can go to the Ryder Cup next year. He doesn't need to play in Medina. Give me Koivun, give me Thorbjornson, give me young guys and fresh energy to make that. It just annoyed me when I heard that comment. I'm like, this is the problem with the Ryder Cup right here.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better myself. I think with the problem with the President's Cup, Ryder Cup teams is that the United States, they play it too safe. They think they have it with the surefire picks. They pick the guys who've been good for a while. The guys that don't play poorly, but their ceiling is they have high floor, low ceiling guys is the best way to kind of say it. But I think that what we should be doing, in the President's Cup team is kind of choosing these guys with the high ceiling and developing them. I know I sound like an NFL GM here with a fourth round pick here, but I think that's what needs to happen here is we need to choose these young guys who have shown they have talent in college, shown they have talent on the PGA Tour, and kind of develop them into what we want to see on these Ryder Cup teams. And the President's Cup is the best opportunity to do that because, no offense, many people don't. This is true. People don't care as much about the President's Cup as they do the Ryder Cup. It is true. As unfortunate as it is, but it is what it is. So I think that is the best chance. I know Brandon Snedeker, he's gonna, I think he talked about one of the problems is he's the captain for I don't know if the first time, but he's the captain. He's going to pick the best team that he thinks is going to win because he's the captain. He's playing for this year, not in 2 years, which is completely understandable. But at the same time, like we do want to see these young guys play, and that's a whole other conversation for President's Cup in a month here or later, a couple weeks. But it's good to get the ball rolling on this Jackson Koivun, Michael Thorbjornson train, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I know a couple of weeks ago I compared him to the Ludwig Oberg, and I didn't really think of it. And then watching the Wyndham this past weekend, Tom Kim, another top 5 finish. He's been great in the second half of the year since the U.S. Open. And it was a couple of years ago when the President's Cup was at Quail Hollow in Charlotte. I can't remember the year. Tom Kim got PGA Tour status by finishing like 3rd at the Genesis Scottish Open. So he took that membership, played a couple events, and then he won the Wyndham in the last regular season event. Do you know what Trevor Immelman did? Put him on the President's Cup team that a month away after that win. And you know what he did? He had the famous moment of making the birdie putt. I think it was on 17 or 18 from 20 feet, throwing the hat, running around the green with Sanjay Im. And he was 20 years old, and he had just won. He'd played 6 PGA Tour events, and he did it. And the way President's Cup team, Immelman took Tom Kim. Jackson Koivun's a better player than Tom Kim was at that point in his career. You could beg who's the better player now. You could say Kim. But at that point, Koivun is probably a better player than Tom Kim was at that point. And it's a home President's Cup team. And he's done the same thing Tom Kim did. Now, I get it. Their international team is not as deep as ours. I understand. And there's probably LIV guys that didn't go and all that. I got it. But there are precedents for doing it with other players. And maybe Thorbjornson doesn't make it. Yeah, maybe that one's a stretch. But Koivun or pick either one. I don't care. Give me Thor, who's played 80 PGA Tour events then. Fine. Give me him. It made me so mad. And I was like, it shouldn't make me this mad. But because we win the President's Cup team. We win those because we're just inherently better. We have a deeper field. So I'm thinking about the Ryder Cup next year. And again, we have a year and a half till that. Yeah, I don't know. It just made me so mad listening to that. But we can move on to preview the events this week. On the DP World Tour, we have the Danish Golf Championship. So they've been off for 3 weeks. They're heading into their closing swing of things is what they call it. The Danish Golf Championship. Marco Penge is the defending champion. He's not in the field. I was shocked to see him not in the field, especially because he missed the FedEx Cup playoffs. But I'm sure he's going to play some on the DP World Tour in this fall. A lot of Danish golfers. Obviously, we have Rasmus Højgaard, who is on the Ryder Cup team. His brother is playing in the FedEx Cup event, so he's not there. You got Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Thorbjorn Olsen, a longtime DP World Tour player and PGA Tour player as well. Not the best of fields, kind of weaker. You do have a couple LIV guys. You have Henrik Stenson in the field. But again, for these people trying to get into the top 10 of the Race to Dubai rankings, these points are really crucial. Last year, Penge won. He defeated Rasmus Højgaard. I'm going to go with Rasmus Højgaard as my pick. He's from Denmark. He finished 2nd here at this event last year. He's coming off a T4 finish over at the Rocket Classic. Didn't play the best at the Wyndham Championship, I think T46. But again, a Danish golfer in his National Open. He's probably one of the more talented players in the field. Give me Rasmus Højgaard to pick up a win in his home country.
Yeah, DP World Tour, they haven't played in a month, it seems. It's been a while since the DP World Tour has had their own event. And, pretty interesting field speak. I know I was looking through the field. I saw Bubba Watson on there. It's pretty surprising.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with a Danish golfer, very similar to yours. I'm going to go with Rasmus Niergaard Peterson. He has a win on the DP World Tour, and I've seen him compete in these events. So I think that he's very good, and he'll put up a good fight this week.
Yeah, I think him in my pick and Højgaard, being PGA Tour players, then playing the last couple of weeks, may just be in a little better form than some of the guys that have been off for 3 weeks. So we'll see. Knowing our track record, neither of them will probably win, but, we'll give them to you. Over on the ladies European Tour, we have the VP Bank Swiss Ladies Open in Switzerland. The defending champion is Alice Houston. She's won the last 2 events at this field, so can she go for a three-peat? That'd be really cool. She's in the field again. You have Leonie Harm. She's in the field. She's won this year. She won the Monday German Masters. This one's a tough one. I think I'm gonna go with a 2-time defending champion in Alice Houston. Winning back-to-back years, same course for the 3rd time. Why not go for a three-peat? Give me the defending champ the last 2 years.
Yeah, pretty standard event here on the European Tour. I don't think many of the huge names in the European Tour there. I don't think Cassandra Alexander. I don't think Anna Huang is playing in it. So pretty standard event here. I'm gonna go with Alexandra Forsterling. The last time I picked her was at the German Masters, and she was runner-up. Definitely could have won, but I'm gonna pick her again this week. I think she can do it.
Over on the LPGA Tour, we have the standard or the Portland Classic, the standard Portland Classic down or over in Portland, Oregon. Again, I love me some Northwest golf. The PGA Tour doesn't go up there. I mean, Chambers Bay famously when Spieth won, so we'll see. I know Sahali Country Club used to hold a women's major. I think so Brooke Henderson won her major. So again, sneaky good golf up there. So I'm excited to see this golf course. Akia Y is the defending champion. She's in the field looking to repeat. Again, really tough to repeat, but we have seen it a couple times on the LPGA Tour this year. 8 of 13 LPGA Tour winners are in the field, including Heiran Ryu. She's in it. Yana Wilson, Gina Kim. Pretty good field, coming off the European swing, as they kind of get back over here, get into the LPGA Tour, and on stateside, get those events. I'm gonna go with Hannah Green. She's kind of cooled off since her first couple wins earlier in the year, but she's Pat golfer still in there, and you know what? I feel she was gonna want to kind of compete with Nelly and Ryu, and chasing that multiple wins on the tour this year. So give me Hannah Green to win down or over in Portland.
Yeah, I mean, Hannah Green's won this tournament. She won it in 2019, so some experience there. It's a good pick. I like that. Great field this week for the event being in, Oregon up there. And, they took a week off last week after the Open. Now they're playing Pacific Northwest. I love that. Like you said, a lot of great courses up there. I think the Olympic clubs in Northern California. So
yeah, another good one.
Yeah, so they've got some good stuff up there, and PGA Tour never goes up there, which is really sad. I actually love it. Wet courses. It's beautiful up there against the ocean. But great field this week. They've give Gino. You've got Lottie Woad, Heiron Yu. They have a bunch of top players up here, and looking at the past few years, the winners. There hasn't been many top players that win these. They're good players, but they're not, top 10 players in the world that win this event. So I'm going to go with someone who at one point was top 10. I'm not sure if she still is, but hasn't done, too much this season. But I'm going with Runing Yin. Hasn't done too much this season, but I think she still got it in there. And she was all the way up to, I think she might have been top 5 in the world, last year at some point. So she's very good. And she still got it in her.
Yeah, I mean, a great field, and it's probably going to be, some Pacific Northwest courses are pretty tree lined, some are on the ocean, so I'm excited to see what this one is. I wouldn't mind a tight, narrow golf course. That's always fun to watch them shape shops around trees and all that stuff, so should be a good tournament. For the PGA Tour, it's the postseason time. FedEx Cup postseason, the first leg at the FedEx St. Jude Championship in Memphis, Tennessee, TPC Southwind. It's a typical TPC course. Usually doesn't go as low as other TPC courses. I went to the event, I think, in 2021, and it is probably the hottest golf term I've ever been to. It's going to be hot. It was so humid. It was cool to watch. It's usually the top 70 players in the FedEx Cup are all in the field except Daniel Berger, who unfortunately is not playing due to injury. He's ranked 60th, so that's pretty much just ending his season. And before we get into the tournament, Daniel Berger missing with another injury. He's just gone through, I think it was a wrist injury the 1 year, a back injury the 1 year that cost him a long time. And, he lost in a playoff to Akshay Bhatia this year at the Arnold Palmer. He got up into, I think it was the top 20, and if not top 15 at the world at some point in his career. He's won this event back-to-back years. So tough to see someone who's fighting so many injuries in his past, dealing with another injury. Hopefully it's nothing serious. And, he has tour card locked up for next year. He'll just play that way. So maybe he's just being precautionary, but hopefully everything's good with Berger. But again, the rest of the top players are in the field. You have Scotty, you have Rory, who hasn't played here the last 2 years. He's back in the field. You have Justin Rose, the defending champ, who beat your boy JJ Spawn in the playoff last year. Yeah, it's tough. But again, this is an exciting time because they need to get into that top 50 to play next week. So I think you see guys push it more than normal. Like, you're not going to see being conservative. I think you're going to see, I need to get into this position. If you're in past that 50 number, you got to get a really good finish. I know last year, I think 5 players played their way into the BMW Championship. So now you get a little more points, I think, are rewarded in this tournament than normal ones. I think the winner gets 7, similar to the majors and the Players Championship. So there's a little more FedEx Cup points at risk, or you're trying to earn. Again, it's a good field. I'm going with I'm going to call him the hottest golfer on the PGA Tour right now, in Hideki Matsuyama, who has 3 consecutive top 10s. He's played every tournament since the Open. At the Open, he finished T14. The 3M Open, I think he finished 3rd. And then the Rocket Classic finished 5th. And last week he finished 7th. He's won at this course. His other top finishes are lost in a playoff at this course. And he's coming in an absolute heater. Hopefully that driver stays consistent, unlike what we saw at the WM Phoenix Open early in the year. His short game is good. His putting's good. His ball striking has always been good. So, give me Hideki to win here and continue his hot streak of golf.
Yeah, the FedEx Cup playoffs are always fun. I know these kind of end of the summer, fall events can be a little lackluster, but the FedEx Cup playoffs, I do really enjoy watching them. Guys are playing for something, extend their season, get into the top 30, which gets you into all the majors, big signature events. And I want to touch on Daniel Berger for a little bit. It's pretty sad to see Daniel Berger like this. I know he was playing at his peak. He was playing very well. He was on that Ryder Cup team at Whistling Straits that won the last U.S. Ryder Cup win. He won at Pebble Beach. Daniel Berger was playing excellent golf, and then he gets the 2 injuries, which I've said before are pretty detrimental to golfers. The two muscles, parts of the body that I think of with a golf swing is back and wrist. You got to rotate and then get the hands around. That's how it goes. And he's got those. Unfortunately, he's been dealing with that back injury for a while. I'm not sure what this one is, but I hope Daniel Berger comes back from it. I know they can be really tricky. We haven't, Will Zalatoris was dealing with back issues, and we haven't seen him back. So it's been tough for him. Hopefully, we'll see him back here soon. But yeah, hopefully he's not too poorly, and we'll see him next year, healthy for a good season. But back to the PGA Tour FedEx Cup playoffs. I want to touch on these locations because it is the middle of August currently, and the PGA Tour, their next 3 weeks are playing in Tennessee, I think St. Louis, and then Atlanta in the middle of August, which sounds. I don't know who does the planning. I know they do it every year, but just because you do it every year does not mean it's good. That is sounding like the most miserable 3 weeks of golf I can think of in August. So, so good luck to all those guys playing. I know Rory didn't want to play this week. I think Rory is actually playing because they made him, because he doesn't play golf ever on the PGA Tour. So nice to see Rory back because he felt like playing this week. But I think the guy who's going to win this week, when looking at the past winners, you don't see the top guys. Once again, you don't see Rory, you don't see Scotty winning these events. You see guys who are top 10. You see guys like Hideki. You see guys like Justin Rose, and then Victor Hovland, who went on a run a couple years ago, and then Lucas Glover. Pretty sure he played well. I remember he was being like, but I think a guy who's going to win this week. This is the most predictable win of all time. You can see this coming from a mile away. This is the most Sam Burns tournament to win of all time. He doesn't have a win this year. He's going for his yearly win. It's not a major too, so he can win it. So Sam Burns is going for his yearly win to show everyone that he's actually good, even though we have seen it. But he's going to go for his win, cash a check, and then not do anything in the majors again. But Sam Burns is obviously winning this week, and I'm so confident in this.
I don't know if he's statistically the best putter this year, but he has been, and it's a course that will probably set up well for him. And he's from Louisiana, so if anyone's nice and acclimated to hot weather in August and playing golf, it's Sam Burns. So again, he's finished well here in the past. I know he was top 5 last year. So again, it's a good pick if his putter gets hot, and you never know what can happen. Before we get going, we got to talk about the LIV Golf news. They have miraculously an investor that's putting in $250 million. LIV Golf, and from what I've read, I think they're going to have 10 events. It's going to be 5 international, 5 U.S. events. And some of these players are going to try to play on the PGA Tour, which, again, I don't know how that looks like. The PGA Tour said nothing. No one's responded to that. It's going to be similar to the Brooks Koepka situation. But I imagine if the PGA Tour wants them, they're not going to allow them to play on the LIV Tour. So I don't know how some of these players think they're going to do both. We don't know who the investor is or if it's a group of investors. That has not come to light yet. I don't know if we may never know. I'm sure eventually it will become public knowledge because it has to. But again, I guess LIV Golf is here to stay. 10 events a year, sure. Like, I guess John Rahm and Cam Smith and Bryson are winning. They're getting paid a ton of money to play 10 events a year. So good for them, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah, LIV Golf, we talked about last week, and we kind of predicted the end. The writing was on the wall, and then this comes out. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
bad
LIV
on
Golf.
us.
Yeah, LIV Golf is a big nothing. I watched the tournament this last week at Trump Bedminster. There was something on TV on Sunday morning, so I said, "Hey, I'll turn on the LIV Golf," and it was the most uninspiring golf coverage I've seen. There were the guys were in shorts, which I'm not shouldn't be a big deal, but I'm kind of used to seeing professional golfers wearing pants. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. And then
Yeah.
the music being on the whole round is also so strange. And then the golf is just kind of there. It's not or like the PGA Tour where like the golfing is the main thing. It kind of just seems like hey, there's a tournament, there's stuff going on, and hey, there's these guys golfing here too. It's kind of what it seems like. I was not inspired, and obviously I do have bias. I will acknowledge that I do not like LIV Golf, but I did watch with a kind of open mind. It was kind of sad. But that's kind of all I have to say about LIV Golf was that it was sad when I watched it.
Yeah, I know Joaquin Neiman won and John Rahm wrapped up the individual title championship for I think the third straight year on LIV. So again, those two players, Neiman and Rahm, are cashing in big time, literally. Like, I'm sure they've made tons of money, and again, that's what they wanted to do, and good for them. They're giving themselves generational wealth, and that's cool. So again, who knows what this investment means? Who knows what this means for the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, any of that? But they have a lifeline, shockingly. So I guess good for the LIV supporters. If you're a LIV fan, like, good for you. Again, I've watched events in the past, and it doesn't do anything for me. There's no juice to it. There's no like, oh, these players are going head to head. I don't know. The shotgun start is corny. I don't like seeing players all over the course. There's just a lot of things wrong with it. But again, good for them. They get their money. They got an investor, kind of save them at the last minute. But there are also other tours that are doing really well in the LPGA, DP World Tour, and the PGA Tour. So they all have events this week. Go watch those. We'll be back next week to recap them and preview the next week's ones. Go follow us on fairwaygreen.com and Instagram Fairway to Green, and we'll be back next week.